Hi everyone, my name is Angel, and today I'm going to be talking about all the books that I've read in 2017 so far. My resolution this year was to read one book a month, and I've done at least that. Some months I've read 2 or 3 books, so I'm really proud of myself for staying on track with this goal, and next year I might have to double that. I've read some really good books this year, and I want to share them all with you guys, so hopefully you will find the next book that you want to pick up. So without any further ado, wow, can I talk? Without any further ado, let's get started. The first book I read in January was Talking as Fast as I Can by Lauren Graham. If you're a fan of Gilmore Girls, you definitely have to pick this book up. It was a really quick and easy, fun read. I love her so much. She's a blast, and you have to read this if you like Gilmore Girls or Lauren Graham or Parenthood or any of that. A Series of Unfortunate Events, The Bad Beginning by Lemony Snicket. I got this signed copy from Barnes & Noble on Black Friday, so I wanted to read it for the Netflix series because I read it a long time ago, and I loved it. It still holds up. I'm working through the series now, which brings me to the next book, The Wide Window, which is book number 3, because I read The Reptile Room, book number 2, a long time ago, so I didn't really need to reread it, but I read this one for the first time and quite enjoyed it, so now I'm working through book number 4. Big Little Lies by Leanne Moriarty. I wanted to read it before the HBO series Big Little Lies, which I also loved. It is the TV event of the year, and this book was really great, and I want to read more of her books, so I can't wait to do that. 13 Reasons Why by Jay Asher. This is actually a reread because I read it like a decade ago when it first came out. I loved it then, and I loved it even more now. It really resonated with me as someone who deals with a lot of the issues that the book and the show touches on, and I know there's a lot of controversy around it. I understand that, so if you don't think it's for you, that's fine. I don't know. Read the book, don't read it. I don't care. I liked it. Everything by Nicola Yoon. I wanted to read this one before the movie also. I hope you notice a theme in my reading list. I really liked this book. I flew through it in like a week. It is so fun. There's not just text, there's pictures, which I can't find right now, but there's a lot of fun stuff like handwriting and everything like that. Everything like that. It's a really fun read. I liked the movie a lot, and you will fly through it. Life and Death by Stephanie Meyer, which is a Twilight retelling, but it's gender bent. So instead of Bella and Edward, there is Beaufort and Edith. I thought this book was really fun. If you're a Twilight fan, you definitely should check it out. It's a really cool take on Twilight from an interesting perspective because a lot of young adult books don't have a male perspective. So it was really interesting. It does have a different ending, so I'm not going to spoil it. If you want to find out what it is, then you have to read the book. I thought it was really cool, and I'd like to see a movie made from this point of view because it was really interesting. I'm a Twi fan forever. Then I read The Shack. I wanted to read before the movie because there was a lot of controversy in some of my Christian circles, like on Facebook. I thought it was a really good book. It was some of the most beautiful writing that I've ever read. I loved it. It's a really beautiful, beautiful story, and the movie was great too. If Octavia Spencer is God when I make it to heaven, like, I won't be mad. It helped me tackle some issues with my personal faith, actually, and some questions that I had been having, and I thought it was a really important book. I also read Salty Kisses by Robin Jones Gunn, which is book number 2 in the Christy and Todd baby years. It's following the Christy Miller series, which is one of my favorites. Thank you, Amanda, for introducing it to me a long time ago. And I just wish Robin Jones Gunn would write about this girl and Todd forever until she's like 6 feet under. Robin Jones Gunn, if you're watching this, please, please never stop writing about Christy and Todd. I will read them all forever. You have my loyalty. Always and Forever, Lara Jean by Jenny Han, which is the 3rd and final book in the To All the Boys I Loved Before trilogy. Oh my gosh, I love this series so much. Peter Kavinsky is everything. I want to be a part of Lara Jean's family, and they're making a movie from the first book, so if you're not into this series right now, you need to get into it. It's so good. I loved this one. Thank you, Jenny Han, for giving me all the feels. Then I read a book that my best friend Brittany recommended, which was In a Dark, Dark Wood by Ruth Ware. I really liked this book. It's a great thriller. I thought the characters were more likable than books I read like Gone Girl and Girl on the Train. It was a really interesting story, and I did not see the twist coming. I really want to read her other books, The Lion Game, which just came out, and The Woman in Cabin 10, so I might pick up one of those next. But thank you, Brittany, for recommending this to me, and now I recommend it to everyone at work who comes in looking for a good thriller. Definitely read this. Once and for All by Sarah Dessen. Sarah Dessen is my favorite young adult author, so of course I bought this book as soon as it came out. Thank God I work at a bookstore. I loved it so much. It's not my favorite Sarah Dessen book, but I really did like it. Protagonist, her mother is a wedding planner, so she helps out in that business, and I thought that was really cool and really fun. The love interest, Ambrose, is so adorable and funny. In the backstory, there's a political issue, I will say, that comes up. It could be controversial, but I applaud Sarah Dessen for taking a stance on this issue and including it in her book because it's really relevant and timely. I thought it was a really interesting take that we don't really often see in young adult fiction. I really liked it. Definitely pick it up. So I have been looking for a new series to start. My manager at work recommended this book, The Program by Suzanne Young. It's a really cool series. I've read the first 2 books so far. It's about how suicide has become an epidemic and what the government tries to do to keep it under control and to stop it. But in turn, it really has the opposite effect. It's a really cool dystopian YA book, maybe a little bit more realistic than some of the others that are out there. I don't know. Read it for yourself and find out. I am really invested in the story and the love interest, the relationship there. So I recommend it if you're looking for a good YA dystopian book. Freshman Year of Life, conceived by the Mind Sumo community. This book is so good. It is a bunch of essays from people who are in young adulthood and teaching us how to navigate our freshman year of life, if you will. I found it so comforting and so relatable because it really helped me feel less alone and like I'm not the only one who's working a part-time job and doesn't have health insurance and is living with their parents and is not in a committed relationship, and it's just so comforting. I definitely recommend this to all of my fellow 20-somethings out there who have no idea what they're doing with their life. You gotta read this. It's a bunch of essays, so there's an essay for everyone in here. Some I related to, some I didn't. It's very diverse, and it's a lot of fun. You have to read this if you're in my shoes. I Can't Make This Up, Life Lessons by Kevin Hart. It was my very first audiobook, and I loved it. It was such a fun time. Kevin Hart is hilarious, and if you want to read this book, you should totally get the audiobook because the way he reads it is so funny. It was a really inspiring story of his rise to fame, and he really seems like such a hard worker who's humble and thankful. I just loved it a lot. I thought it was a really fun time, and it was really enjoyable. Eliza and Her Monsters by Francesca Zappia, which is one of my favorite books of the year, hands down. It's so good. I flew through this in a couple of days. I originally got it from the library, but then I had to buy my own copy because I loved it so much. It's also very interactive. There's IMs, there's drawings because it's about a webcomic, so that's always fun to put a picture to the story, if you will. It also touches on anxiety, which is really important. I loved the love interest in this. I need to see this in a movie form, like right now. It was so good. I definitely recommend this. If you liked Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell, please pick this up. It's so good. And then talk to me about it so we can have all the feels together. The Treatment by Suzanne Young, which is book number 2 in the program series. And this is a continuation of the first book. However, this is the end of that particular story. The rest of the books deal with other characters, so I'm excited to read those. But I really liked this one. It was a great continuation. I like this series so far. I also read Geekerella by Ashley Poston, and I don't have a physical copy of it because I got it from the library, but I've been meaning to buy it because I loved it so much. It's a retelling of Cinderella, which is really hard to do without making it sound like another retelling of Cinderella. This one I thought had a really unique take on it. It was a Cinderella story that I would love to see in theaters. Really diverse, a really interesting story and setting. If you liked Fangirl and if you liked Eliza and Her Monsters, you would like this because it's very geeky, very hip with the nerd culture. I loved it so much. I also listened to Sorry Not Sorry by Naya Rivera. If you are a Glee fan like I am, you have to listen to this book because she spills all the tea, and that is why I listened to it. I thought it was a really interesting story on how she grew up as a child actor and skyrocketed to fame on Glee, and how she navigated her relationships and motherhood and marriage. I love Naya Rivera even more after listening to this book, and I definitely recommend it. Moxie by Jennifer Mathau, I think is how you say it. I got a digital advanced reader copy of this, and oh my gosh, I flew through it because I loved it so much. This book is so important. It should be required reading in all high schools. A perfect example of why we still need feminism, and it is feminist AF, and oh my gosh, I loved it so much. Everyone should read this. It's so good. It comes out in September, so please pick it up when it does come out. I am going to talk about it to everyone I know, especially young females like myself. You have to read this book. It's so good. I was taking pictures of passages that I loved so much because I was laughing out loud at them, and I just wanted to save them forever. Definitely read it if you can get your hands on it soon. Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn. This was okay. I don't think that I love her writing style, and that's okay. I read Gone Girl because it was the talk of the town, and I didn't really love the writing style in that either. I might pick up another one of her books later, but I'm gonna move on to some other thriller authors now. It is definitely twisty and messed up, so if you like that kind of thing, you'd like this. It's very messed up. Another one I don't have is Behind Her Eyes by Sarah Pinborough because I listened to it on Overdrive. The library is awesome. Loved this book. Someone at work recommended it, and so I picked it up because I was feeling another thriller, and I did not want to stop listening to it. It was so good. I just convinced Brittany, my best friend, to listen to it as well, and she finished it, and she's still talking about it because that ending, the twist, is so insane, it will blow your mind. You have to listen to the book just to get to the ending because it will make your head hurt. And you will still be thinking about it. I'm still thinking about this book, and I'm like, what did I read? Why? Why did this happen? Oh, it's so good. Read it. It's Not Yet Dark by Simon Fitzmaurice. This is an ARC that I got from work. I picked it up because it was really short, it looked interesting, and Alan Rickman has a little blurb on the cover, so can't go wrong there. This is a memoir from an Irish filmmaker who was diagnosed with ALS, and it is very heart-wrenching and sad, but also really beautiful and hopeful, and it really opened my eyes to how someone with ALS lives day to day, and it's heartbreaking, but it's really good because he does have hope and he's very inspiring. And if you like filmmaking, I think you'd like this because he talks a little bit about that and how he tries to do that with ALS. So it was really interesting, and I'm glad I picked it up from work. I Hate Everyone But You by Gabby Dunn and Allison Raskin. I got a digital advanced reader copy of this, and I loved it. I did not want to put it down because it was such a fun read. It's told all through IMs and emails and texts. It's about two best friends who are going to college on opposite sides of the country, and it deals with some really important things like your sexuality and labeling yourself and labeling others and anxiety and first relationships. I really loved reading it. It was a fun read. I think if you read this, you're either going to be an Ava or a Jen. I am definitely an Ava. I'm like a textbook Ava. Definitely read this when it comes out. I think anyone could fly through it. It was an easy read. My most recent read is The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. Read this book. I really liked it. I didn't want to put this down because it was so, it just grabbed me, and it was rage worthy because you're dealing with social injustice and racism, and I'm like, I just wanted to go into the story and be like, no, this is wrong. He was innocent. Sadly, that is happening in our country. So if you are passionate about things like that, you definitely have to check out this book. It will open your eyes. It will make you angry, but it's also a beautiful story and great writing. Read it. It's so good. All right, so there you have it. Those are all the books that I read in 2017 so far. Doing pretty well. I can't wait to see what books that I'll read in the final part of the year. I've got some really cool fall-ish books that I want to read. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you've read this year, what you plan to read. Let me know if you've read any of the books that I mentioned. I am always down to talk about books, so please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I will freak out and love you forever if you want to talk about a book that we have both read. Seriously, yeah. Thank you so much for watching this video. Hopefully there will be more to come. That's the plan, but I don't want to make promises I can't keep. So thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye!